Hey guys, it's Johnny here, and I'm going to show y'all how to find the distance of a line. Alright, so we got these 2 points here on our graph. We got -2 and -3, and the other point, 3, 2. We're going to figure out how long this line is that's connecting both of these points. So the first thing you need is to know the distance formula, which is d equals square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Alright, our line is reading from left to right, so our first x value will be -2 and our second x value will be 3. Same with the y's. Our first y value will be -3 and our second y value will be 2. So with these numbers, you just take them and plug them into the equation. So we got d equals square root of 3 minus -2 squared plus 2 minus -3 squared. Alright, this is where we're going to let our calculator do the rest of the work. You can actually take this whole thing and plug it in. So we got square root, don't forget those parentheses, 3 minus -2 squared plus 2 minus -3 squared. Alright, and our calculator says the distance is 7.071, which you could technically round to 7.1. So the distance is d equals 7.1. Alright, now we're going to look at a real world example. So we got this guy here, and he's climbing up a rope that's connected from one building to the other. And at each ends of the rope, you got these imaginary points that represent where the rope is attached. So we're going to figure out how long this rope is using those imaginary points. Alright, so our first point, once again, this rope is going from left to right. Our first point will be -5, -1, and our second coordinates or point will be 2, 6. So we use our distance formula once again. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, all under square root. So we take our numbers once again and we plug them into the equation. So we got d equals square root of 2 minus -5 squared plus 6 minus -1 squared. Alright, we'll go to our friend the calculator and plug that whole equation in. So we got square root 2 minus -5 squared plus 6 minus -1 squared. Alright, and the distance is 9.899. Ooh, we can round that to 9.9. So our distance is d equals, distance of the rope, excuse me, is d equals 9.9. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at this word problem here. It reads, Thomas is standing 10 yards to the left of the center of the football field and 10 yards down. He throws a football straight to his friend Mason. Mason is positioned 22 yards to the right of the center of the football field and 2 yards up. Find the distance that the football covers in order to find out how far Thomas and Mason are from each other. Alright, the easiest way to look at this is to put these two guys on a graph and figure out where they're standing and make coordinates out of those points. So Thomas, he is 10 yards to the left of the center of the football field and 10 yards down. So like on the graph, his coordinates would be -10, -10. Mason, however, is standing 22 yards to the right of the center of the football field and 2 yards up. So his coordinates would be 22, 2. Because left and right determine the x-coordinate, and up and down determine the y's. So we're going to use our distance formula again to figure out how far apart these guys are. So D equals that long square root x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Alright, like you did earlier, you're going to take your numbers and just plug them into the equation. Since Thomas is initiating the throw, his coordinates will be x1 and y1, and since Mason is receiving, his coordinates will be x2 and y2. So we got D equals 22, take the square root of all that, 22 minus -10 squared plus 2 minus -10 squared. Alright, we'll go to our beautiful calculator and punch that whole equation in. So we got square root of 22 minus -10 squared plus 2 minus -10 squared. Alright, and our calculator says that Thomas and Mason are 34.176 yards apart. So we can round that to 34.2. So our distance between those two guys is 34.2 yards. And I hope that was helpful.